Please let him build trade boats. Please let him build trade boats. Please let him build trade boats. One and all. Welcome back to the Midweek Muster. Week number 5, Grand Finals, game number 4. After this one, we have a redraft, but for now, we have the potential for Wham to do what he loves best. It's Skaargård time. It's French. Are the Canadians going to do it again? Are they going to go trade? Because we know how much they love it. That is what we are here to find out, folks. Interesting matchup, actually, because on the other side, Vortex has done something a little bit different on Skaargård. A map that's usually dominated by Chinese picks, Rus picks, French picks, GG picks, even Malians. Civs that can do pro scouts, and Vortex has done a Civ that will not. English. Last time I saw English tried, I think it was a core game, and that ended quite horrifically for him. Fairness, Vortex, definitely a different caliber of player, I think Core won't mind me saying, right? We find him here in the Grand Finals for a reason. So curious to see how he wants to try and approach this matchup. Skaargård, for those that don't know, is a map where you start with only 5 sheep underneath your TC, so 1,000 food, and then 4 deer underneath your TC, which equates to an extra 1,400. So you have 2,400 safe food, and then usually you'll see people trying to shove extra underneath the TC. Wondering if we're getting the same from Vortex? Yes. Because remember, there is only 5 sheep for each TC next to them. So there is no reason to scout the map if you're not going for an aggro play. You're better off coming and shoving extra food in like this. Smart choice, but Vortex is going to want to scout soon. He's gone for the council hall build. Yeah, and we know he likes to do this. We watched in the semi-final series against Dimu as Vortex actually chose to go for the council hall there as well. Pretty solid choice. Gives you that little bit of scaling. If you're on 1 TC on 1 TC, you can contest, and guarantees you don't get punished for being a bit too greedy against a French all-in by going 2 TC. How do you guys gamble in the end, by the way? I'm kind of curious. 77% for Wham. That's a lot of French believers. We'll have to see. I mean, he's definitely been an entertaining fellow, as is his brother, to watch this map. If you guys remember, we actually had the first water trade game with Skaargård. It was Puppypaw versus Wham, where Puppypaw went French, and Wham was playing Malians, completely clueless to what was happening. I think there's going to be a lot more active vision grabbing in this particular one. Pro Scouts looking likely with the current format, right? Wham has got 4 of the gold. That's more than enough to get the first night and get Pro Scouts about the same time. School Cavalry being built up by 4. He doesn't need to be as quick if he didn't want to compared to Vortex, because Vortex isn't going to be able to rush out as fast with just the Longbows. He'll have to wait for the first 3, and then additionally add in spears before moving out. Yeah, this is identical to what we saw Vortex do on High View. So change the map, but can't change the player. It's interesting as well, actually, because Vortex in the early years of AoE4, you know, may have became well-known, renowned for his Mongols. He was also one of the first players to switch onto the Rus bandwagon when they started to become meta for the first time reliably after the Horse Archer nerf. But I always envisioned him in those early years as an English main. He was fantastic at doing these feudal age council hall all-in builds at a time where most players were moving off of them. And in a classic matchup like English versus French, we'll have to see how well he can execute. First night's queued. Pro Scouts has not been, though. Wham instead goes survival techniques, realizing he needs to play 1 TC all in. Ooh, this is what Vortex does to you, man. Like, you get on a map like Skaargård, you have a clear idea in mind, and that idea is Pro Scouts. It is the meta, it is the expectation. But by going for this council hall build, it changes the dynamics entirely of the opening game. The Ryan's asking, central trade posts seem kind of pointless. When would they ever get used? Water trade isn't too bad, actually. We've seen multiple players utilize that. Land trade, a little bit more tricky, but honestly, what's wrong with trade being designed this way? Trade is such a powerful tool and an infinite tool. Why should trade ever be free? Trade should be a difficult thing to get into, not an easy thing. And I wholly believe that for the majority of maps. You know, you can have some where it's more feasible, but it should never be a case of, let me build this behind my base and good luck touching it. Longbow spears on the way. It looks like he actually has discovered the wall. It's a little bit of an annoying start here. Vortex, it's quite crafty by Wham to build that just teensy tiny wall there, right? To slow down his timing. But it's time for Wham to now start flooding archers. You want to use the knights to intercept the reinforcements, though. And Vortex Aware is looking to keep an eye on that. Tricky part here for Vortex is you're going to have way too many things to watch. You can't keep eyeballs on everything, right? You want to check on what your opponent's doing next. You want to guard your army because without them, they're blind, right? But especially near a stealth forest. And you also want to protect reinforcements. Something is going to slip there as the game scales. Especially when you consider the distance between your bases. Unless you're Mongols. No, Mongol players need to stop building Silver Tree. Deerstone is the way. I much prefer Deerstone into eventual normal trade. Just gives you options, right? So Vortex is on chill mode right now. Wow, love this. Very efficient. Going into Horseman, actually a smart choice in this situation. Makes you much more cost efficient. Really worrisome if you run into spears. But you see your opponent's leveraging Longbows pretty hard. And it's very difficult to overwhelm with archers. So you have two choices here if you're Wham. You either go for Horseman, or you go for Blacksmiths. But actually going Horseman leads to Blacksmiths more efficiently, right? Because you're spending half the resources per unit, and it's not gold. So you can actually reliably think about getting into Blacksmith decks. Instead of doing that, he goes for a different form of tech. Pro Scouts now coming through for Wham. Yeah, but this felt a bit greedy. Vortex obviously has a timing in mind. He has to with Council Hall, so he's going to look to press again. And now, in the middle of that press point, you've decided to dispatch about 220, 230 extra resources you could have had into military, into greed. Instead of just playing, like, what, 1 or 2 mills on the back where Longbows will never reach. Which, funnily enough, he's doing the mills anyway. Fairness, it does add up quickly. Like 25 wood for a 7 stack, pretty reasonable. 25 wood for a 3 stack adds up fast, even for a civ that pays half price on their mills. Vortex still struggling with that entry, though. At some point, you have to look at this and just go, castle it is, right? I don't think we're there yet. He wants an initial engagement that gives him an opening. That might be a little bit of a chink in the armor, but that's not enough to justify rushing castle now. Yeah, Wham's layering is just pretty on point. He's not giving any easy entry. This is always a difficulty for English, especially when you get these type of tree lines on the forward. If you're against a civ that needs a lot of wood, you can exploit that, right? But French is a rare exception because they have knights. Knights kind of leaves you a little bit more paranoid. Otherwise, you'd be diving in here trying to block the wood, because that's usually seen as an edge for English. The issue is, this is a tale as old as time itself. This one wall does everything for Wham. I have lost count of the amount of English Council Hall players whose strategy has been ruined by a wall like this. Now, wow, and the retreat gets that poke, right? Like, Vortex, he misread the numbers. He can't fight this. He's outnumbered. And now, with the Longbows in formation, you slowly retreat. Good read by Wham. Undermesh now also on the way. Stilled Arrow to follow it up. And Vortex, meanwhile, has yet to crap or get off the pot. Is it Castle Age or is it play? It looks like it's going to be Castle Age from Vortex. Has so much PTSD from Dimmu and Vortex. The funny thing is in that series, in that game, you had the English manned by the aggressive player, and you had the French manned by the defensive player. Well, actually, technically, you have that again. So you might want to start breathing heavily into the paper bag. There's a potential for a similar situation. Wham is definitely the more defensive player of these two. Maybe that's unfair to him because it doesn't matter which player matches up against Vortex. There's not many that are going to go more monkey brain, aggro, in your face, throwing feces across the lot than he might, right? Like maybe kill Jardy, possibly Dragavan with his proxy-based builds. Wow. I feel like he needs to be playing with a little bit of urgency here. Like, this is where you kind of have to check yourself and be like, why have I not been attacked recently? It's also really annoying because you go, why have I not been attacked? But then you have to follow up the question, can I attack English? Because it's one thing if you know they're teching up, but even when you do know that detail, you know you're diving into an aura that gives them a way of fighting back. So what you're seeing is Wham is trying to time it right for Steeled Arrow. Steel Arrow plus Undermesh means he doesn't care about the attack speed buffer, because a 20% increase on 6 damage is 1.2 damage, right? You have an extra 1 damage to bring you on par, and then extra on top of that. So it's only a 0.2 damage advantage for a guy who's using 1,800 resources for tech instead of army. Hesitance from Wham, though. I mean, they're not even in the aura range, but he backs away. Did get a little bit of chip damage, right? 2 villages is no small feat here. Vortex is going to replace those villages. Wait, really? If Wham had only seen this, he'd probably still be diving. This is kind of wild, actually, because the interesting thing about this choice by Wham is if this wasn't a Pro Scouts map, he would have seen this. This is something I've highlighted that Skaargård's been exposing with players, is their greed. They want to Pro Scouts it up. You've got 4 scouts. 3 scouts is enough to float food at home safely. Have the 4th one with the army so you can see what's happening. Instead, he has to punt it blind, and it does work out here. Sees the spears, sees the longbows, needs to dive in. Wham, front-lining with them here. Knights need to get in fast. This TC is going to be going up. Archer's now diving through. Knights are going to rotate around. A smart move there. Wham pulls the spearman completely out of position. Gets the charge in, but it's too late. Vortex now an age ahead, but he's down by almost 10 villages. Wham, do you just do it? Because I'm looking across, and I'm thinking, siege engineering looks pretty sexy right now. It's a bit risky. Your opponent now can get heavily armored units, so you'd have to feel confident. I don't think Wham is at the stage where he does feel that confidence, right? If you had, say, 12 to 14 knights here, you'd probably just go for 2 rams and make the play. He doesn't have enough yet. Bro, what are you doing? Kind sir. Okay. Whoa, boy. Get out of here. Veterancy from Vortex. More worried about the archers than the knights. Wham is just going to mirror the tech. I mean, it's a smart read from this position. He's built such a lead. He can. I wonder if you go 2 TC. That way you can kind of just scale in a kind of comparative fashion. Then again, you would weaken your timing. Whereas if you go Royal Institute here, scale knights, blob archers, go. You got to be feeling quite confident. It is a bit dangerous against English because of that aura. And the way they SimCity defend, right? So Guildhall or Royal Institute. Guildhall feels really greedy. Puts you in Imperial against English, which no one really likes right now. But he needs it. There you go. Guildhall coming in. So now the idea is Wham is going to apply pressure. He's going to keep Vortex pressed down. And then 10 minutes from now, he's going to be ready for Imperial. Casually. And that's huge! Vortex! What a slip up there! 35 to 51 economy. Wham! Just took full control of the game. So many villages, even the ones building the blacksmith as well. This is hard now for Vortex. I mean, your farm count is what? Double cluster. You've got no deer to try and lean on to make a better economy with. That's too dangerous. Your opponent's about to age up. He's got plenty of archers already. He could just vet spam them. And on top of that, he's got second TC coming. What a play. Wham. Now mirrored the age up. Substantial villager lead. Your opponent's going armor-clads, and you have knights. And he actually might be going for the keep. A little bit ambitious here, especially with Stone on the front line. He's going to have to shuffle away now. Knights in the meantime get in again. Vortex, he wasn't expecting this. He's not even reacting accordingly. He pulled one group back, but not the second. That's it. That's game. That's way too much damage. A 20 villager lead. The veterancy just came in. The Knight's going to kill even quicker now. He keeps trying to dive. Veterancy for the Archers at least a way off. So Vortex's only way of being in this game still is if he can massacre the French economy. Archer's still got some time for that veterancy to come through. So Wham is going to lose a few villages for his troubles. Knights are already on the way home, though. Vortex doesn't wave the white flag yet, but once this army gets mopped up, you have to question what he's got left. He's doing a good job of at least reducing the archer count. It is quite low here. The Knight's just got home. Crossbow count not looking good. You see what Wham's doing. He's diving, looking for the crossbow kills. He essentially ignores the men-at-arms and lets the Knights mop it up. Redraft after this game, folks, and I have a feeling that this one is going to go all the way. Last time they met in the semi-finals, it actually done exactly that. 5 games between these two. And we're already guaranteed at least that this time around. Crossbow's now dead. Wham. Hasn't committed to a second TC. Still could. Guildhall is adding up over time, though. It's small for now, but remember, this number inflates quite aggressively. Wow, so many more Knights on the way, right? Vortex doesn't have that critical mass of crossbows yet. Archers are going to dive in. I mean, you just want the crossbow kill. If the crossbow kill happens, yeah, that's it. He knows it. He called it the bluff to try and show aggro when he knew he was weak. Wow. Cuts him off at the legs here and guarantees a deep, deep series. What do you think, guys? Does English work on Skaargård? So far, the results suggest an astounding no. But then again, Wham was breathtaking with this performance. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll catch you all in the next chapter.